Okay, so we here at Magic Mountain have so many roller coasters, but corporate wants us to name them so they can be differentiated more easily. Okay, how many coasters do we have to name again? At least 20. Oh boy. Don't worry, we might skip some. Let's start. Robert, you had this orange and blue hypercoaster. What do you want to call it? I thought of Goliath because that word means big and the ride is very large. Okay, that's a great name. I don't think any other coaster in the world has that name yet. Not yet, anyway. I'm sure if they use that name again, it'll just be for large coasters like this one and not mid-sized inverts or anything like that. Next up, Jack, you had this dueling launch coaster? Right, I thought of West Coast Racers. Perfect, because the ride races and is on the West Coast. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Whatever. Ben, you had this flying coaster. What should we call it?
How about Tatsu?
Okay, kind of random, but it sounds cool. Jerry, what should we call this suspended coaster?
I was thinking about calling it Ninja.
Alright, will we theme it to the Twitch streamer?
No, it's based on actual ninjas.
Okay. Manny, the first one you were assigned was this giant Lubin coaster. What name do you have? Well, I wanted to call it Viper and theme it to like ancient ruins. What does a Viper have to do with ancient ruins? I don't know, but if we theme it like that and the Q building is actually peeling or crumbling, we can pretend it's part of the theme. Sounds good. Okay, back to Robert. You had this floorless coaster. What name do you have? How about Scream? Oh, would we theme it to the horror films? No. Is it called that because the ride is so scary it will make you scream? Not really. It's one of the most boring rides in the park. It's called Scream because just looking at those ugly purple and yellow colors will make you scream. We may have to do something about that. Jack, your next one is the second fastest launch coaster in the park and barely in the top 5 fastest rides, if even. Let's call it Full Throttle. Wait, we just said it isn't anywhere near the fastest coaster in the park. Are we really going full throttle? You know what? It's fine, whatever. What should we theme the ride to? YOLO. What? Let's theme it to YOLO. Great, we can theme the next one to OMG. Ben, we want to make a DC themed area, so what should we call this inverts?
Well, since the one at Great America is called Batman the Ride, I thought we could name this something completely different.
And what would that be?
Batman the Ride.
Perfect, I love the original names, guys. Jerry, what should we call this stand-up coaster in the DC area?
I think it should be a Batman villain name. We could call it The Joker, Catwoman's Whip, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast, Harley Quinn Crazy Train, Riddler's Revenge.
I like that last one, but what is the Riddler getting revenge on?
Who cares?
Good point. Next DC coaster. This one is an RMC single rail. Manny, what do you have? I think we should theme it to a different DC hero, so how about we call it Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster, because the track is one rail. I think Fiesta Texas already used that one. Maybe make it related to Wonder Woman taking flight? Okay, so how about Wonder Woman, Flight of Truth? It's perfect. I hate it. Fine, let's do Wonder Woman, Flight of Passage. No way, Disney would hunt us down. Let's just go with Flight of Courage. What does that have to do with Wonder Woman? She's courageous. Yeah, but Flight of Courage just doesn't sound good. I don't care if it sounds good. Jerry, give me a name for the next DC coaster. This is an Intamin Zack Spin.
What if we call it Green Lantern?
Ah yes, the lamest of DC heroes besides Aquaman. Perhaps we should add something to his name because Green Lantern isn't good enough to carry a ride on his own.
How about Green Lantern's first flight? Because the ride is so bad, the first ride is guaranteed to be your last.
We don't want people to know that, but okay. Okay, I just got word that Green Lantern is getting shipped to La Ronde in Canada. We need to rename the coaster for them.
Can't they name it themselves?
They could, but one of the rides is named Edinor, so clearly they need help with their names. I'll just use my Viper name and give it to them. Okay, but the park's in the French part of Canada, so let's call it Vipier. Muy bien. That's Spanish. Whoops. Robert, you had this giant launch coaster that goes up a tower and falls right back to where it started. We needed to have a DC theme. Oh, is it in the DC area? Yeah, sort of. You have to climb a mountain to get to it from Batman, but it's pretty close. Okay, well, let's call this one Superman. Maybe we should add something to it. Let's go with Superman the Escape. Wait, how is it an escape if you leave the station and come right back within seconds? This seems like the last roller coaster to call an escape. It just is. Just stick with that. Okay, we have to rename Superman. Why? No reason. Let's just call it Superman Escape from Krypton. Yeah, that's not too bad. Of course not, it was my idea. Jack, give me a name for this wooden coaster. Okay, let's call it Terminator Salvation The Ride and theme it to the movie. Oh, so now we're doing movie themes. That's quite a name, and based on one of the weakest films in the franchise, but I guess it's alright. Wait, the Terminator is made of metal, and this is one of very few wooden coasters in the park. This seems like the last ride we should theme to a robot. Okay, but consider this. The ride is in the back of the park, which looks like a barren desert wasteland. That seems like the kind of thing you'd see in Terminator movies. I guess so. Okay, we just got threatened to be sued by the people who made Terminator, so let's think of a new name for the ride. Well, since it's in the barren wasteland part of the park, let's call it Apocalypse. That's perfect. The ride. I don't know why we need to have ride at the end of all of these, but okay. Ben, give me a name for this crazy 4D coaster.
Well, if it's crazy and extreme, let's call it X.
X, that's cool, I guess.
Is this like the third phone call we've gotten about a name change?
Actually, that was a telemarketer
Oh,
who told me to rename X.
how do you even know? You know what? Whatever. Let's call it X2.
Great, it's like a sequel to X, despite being the exact same ride. Kinda like most movie sequels. Okay, Jerry, give me a name for this wooden coaster.
Let's call it Colossus to emphasize its great size.
It's actually right next to Goliath and is much shorter than it.
Wait, is Goliath gonna be built before this?
No, so I guess we can call it Colossus. Guess what? Ugh, how many names do we have to change today? Colossus is getting RMC'd, so give me a name. How about Iron Colossus? That's cool, but I don't think we should use that because Iron is already in Fiesta, Texas. Okay, let's do Twisted Colossus because the ride twists over itself a lot. That's perfect. I don't think anyone else has ever used Twisted at the start of a name before. And I'm sure they never will for any other RMCs. Okay, let's name the first ever looping coaster.
Let's call it, listen to me, Great American Screen Machine.
Nah, that's usually associated with terrible coasters. Perhaps we go with Great American Revolution, because of the loop being a full revolution.
Are you serious?
Okay, we need to rename the ride something from a different language. Corporate doesn't want the American theme.
Fine. Let's do La Revolution.
Sounds good. Okay, last one.
Ah!
I'll save you some time. We'll call it Revolution. Finally, we're on the final coaster. What is wrong with corporate? We need a new name for Revolution to complement some VR. Fine, let's go with New Revolution. Well, the VR is gone, but we can't call it Revolution.
Just do New Revolution Classic.
Fine, now we have this mine train. Let's just say Gold Rusher because that's a common name and I don't care anymore. Let's call it San Bernardino Mine Train and move on. Don't worry, it's not about Gold Rusher. Ah, good. Instead, Riddler's Revenge, Tatsu, and Scream are all getting repainted. What? We have to rename all of them? No, of course not. Why would we do that? What do you mean? We've been doing that all day? Yeah, that's just how Six Flags rolls.